Hi, welcome to Turn-Based Besties, a podcast where two grown adults with no free time talk about their favorite RPGs. I'm Sam.
And I'm DJ, and we're besties that love to game.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we
Yes, we
do.
do. Well, what was I going to say? I
I don't
had a thought,
know. I
and now it's
what
gone.
about what? What
Nobody
were we,
knows.
what were we
Oh,
talking
I was going to
about?
bring up the most recent reel that I had made for our podcast Instagram. Follow us on Instagram.
Wait, what?
But the one that I shared with you that I have not posted yet.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, no, I showed that to Max. He approves.
does he approve? Okay. Does it seem both uh my wife and my brother-in-law thought that me being in the post took away from it and made it look, they're like, why are you even there? Why do you have, and I thought it made sense that I was showing that I'm trying to play a game and
Oh, I thought
kids
it
are
was
waking me
really.
up.
I was like, ooh, he's an actor. Okay, get it?
I
Because
did it with my eyes. You see
I
how I was like,
know. No, I
yeah.
was like, oh, like there are little different like little foci that you had depending on what was happening in the reel. I thought it was really funny, and
Oh, good. Okay.
I thought it was great comedic timing. And if I didn't think that, I
You
would
would tell
definitely
me.
tell you. Yeah,
You would tell me. Okay, then maybe I'll keep, but I do think this video keeps cutting out on me and I hate this.
it's okay. We're
But
not on YouTube yet.
uh the the yeah, no, I liked it. I could make a better clip. I could make better lighting and I could do better angles on the clip of myself potentially. But
I mean,
anyway,
maybe. I don't know. For those of you who are not following our Instagram, Sam has been getting
who
into
are you?
who the heck are you? First off, follow us. But Sam has been getting into making reels, and they're really good. Like objectively, they're really good reels. So if you all don't listen to the podcast, at least follow us on Instagram for some dank memes.
They're funny video game related memes generally.
They're really funny and highly specific sometimes, and that's okay.
Half of them are way too specific that nobody gets them, and then the other half are general and some people might understand them.
I think that's totally fine. But whatever.
Anyway,
Sam,
but
Sam,
that's fun. That's
tell
fun.
us
It's just
tell us your very fun stories about your cute children because I feel like that is a reason why people listen to the podcast is
got to
to
give the people what they want.
give them the kids.
Yeah. So in the 5-year-old is now in kindergarten, and she is starting to write notes and to write and read. And I'm so proud. I'm so happy about it. What's great is she's sounding things out and she's just going for it. She'll just
Good.
try to write entire notes, entire sentences. And it's great. No fear. She just does it. She doesn't know if she's right or wrong. And she's pretty good at the sounding out. And it's funny to see how she writes things. And so In was in our little porch sunroom area, and they play out there. It's basically a playroom. Every room's basically a playroom. And we were sitting in the hearth room, and she walks in, and she takes a piece of paper that she's written a little note on, and she tapes it to the wall or to the door, and then she just walks away. And we try to read it, and then later on she kind of tell us what it was, but what it said was, "Please get Jay, please, in." So she signed it with her own name.
Well, that's
And
cute.
so she wanted us to come grab the 3-year-old from the sunroom and take him away because she wanted to play by herself. So she wrote a note to us that we should go in there and grab the 3-year-old and remove him from her presence.
Cool. Wow, she is absolutely the daughter of Taylor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but it's so cute in the way she writes things. She wrote a letter to my dad and had my mom who was visiting take it back down to him and say like, "Papa, I will always love you."
Oh,
In It was so sweet. Um,
she's
so
so
very very
precious.
very cute. And Jay, not to be outdone, he is potty trained by the way. Now he just kind of like up and did it. One day
Good,
he's just like, "I'm gonna do it. I'm done
good
with
for
this."
him.
Yeah. So that's good for all of us. And but in the car they get to pick what they listen to, and generally it alternates back and forth, to be fair. And Jay has resorted to, in protest, when it's not his turn, when he's not it's not his songs, he just, to the tune of In's song, Jay will just start singing, I don't like this song, don't like this song,
Oh my
to
god.
whatever it is.
And Jay is definitely the son of you.
He's a little salty. He's a little
A little
salty.
bit. A little bit.
We'll have me bring out the salt later on.
Oh my
Little
god. Yeah,
little
I know.
foreshadowing here.
Yeah, foreshadowing for this episode. Well, for me,
Well, what is this episode, DJ? Give us
this
the rundown.
this episode is about not one of my favorite games, but a game I really enjoy. Parasite Eve on the PlayStation Uno. So let me
I
give
hope
you
it's
all.
one of your favorite games. You've played it 6 times. How many times have you played it? You said.
I've probably beaten it 6 times, but also, I mean, this is over the course of like 25 years, almost 30 years. I mean, not quite 30 years, 26 years, I think. So I don't think that's that wild of a. I mean, yeah, it's definitely been 5 or 6 times that I've beaten it for
To
sure.
each their own. But my gaming experience for myself and my personal, I think I've played the number of games I've played more than once. I could probably is less
Count on one
than
hand.
one hand. Yeah,
I mean, that I can definitely count on less than 10 fingers of games I've played more than once. And also, this is as far as RPGs go, this is a short RPG.
true
It's very short.
ish.
It's a if you really wanted to buckle down and do nothing, you could beat it in a day. But I don't have that kind of attention span. I don't think anymore. I don't think I ever did. But
Well,
so
tell us about it. Give us some of the specifics of this game.
yeah. So we are going to be discussing Parasite Eve. It was developed by Square and published by Square Electronic Arts. This was released in Japan in March of 1998. I believe it was released not too long after in the US. I'd
It
have
was
to double
still
check that.
98, I believe.
I
I
think
didn't write down the
I
month.
think you're right. I think you're right. It was released only on PlayStation 1. I believe in Japan it became available on the PlayStation Store, though I don't know if it was ever released on the PlayStation Store online for the US. But you can emulate it if you need to. Oops. The game was written by Hideaki Sena, who was a PhD in pharmacology. That's so cool. I had no
Yeah, there was like a
idea.
book that it's based off of, and I think maybe a manga.
It was based off a book for sure, and
Yeah.
that book. I hope I may be getting them in reverse order. I believe it was written as a novel first, and then turned into a movie, and then this video game
Uh,
is a loose sequel
Loose sequel. That's what I read too. Yeah.
to the book slash movie, or maybe movie slash book. But I think it was the book first. But back to the game. It was directed by Takashi Tokita. The producer was Hironobu Sakaguchi. Designer by Yoshihiko Maekawa. And our musical composer coming back, we've heard this name before, Yoko Shimomura. You might know that name from Live Alive, or Live Alive if you say it the wrong way. From Street Fighter 2, from the Kingdom Hearts series, from the Xenoblade Chronicles series, from the Mario and Luigi series, from Legend of Mana. What a prolific composer she is. It's so cool.
I feel like a few of these games that we talk about people, and maybe it's because sometimes it's the same person like her, but they're just such baller composers. And as you pointed out, commonly baller female composers, which I think
Commonly
needs to be
awesome,
recognized.
awesome female composers in Japan are really like contributing heavily to amazing video game music.
How do they
And
kick so much ass?
I don't know. It's so cool, and I wish that was a culture that was uplifted here in the States or in Europe. And it's maybe it is. But being a musician that I am, I don't really see that being uplifted as much.
Yeah.
Going into video game specific music. There you go. Like you said, Sam, the story was written by a PhD pharmacologist, so it's got some science and some sci-fi based in it. So I'd be
Mhm.
curious how much is an embellishment. You are definitely the scientist of the two of us, but so when you get into exploring it, I'd love to hear what was more embellished and what was not.
We will talk about some of the specifics of that in the medical moment in
In
the
our medical
future.
moment, very excited for that. Let me give you a quick breakdown on the story. The story follows Aya, a New York City police officer, as she tries to figure out the mystery of a powerful being, transformed human named Eve, who's attacking New York City, as well as discovering her own mysteries that tie into the origins of Eve. The story starts at an opera. What? Where the lead of the opera starts acting strangely on the stage and people start to burst into flames. Strangely, Aya is not affected. She jumps right into action and tries to subdue the performer, who later changes into Eve right in front of her. You then explore the city throughout the next 6 days to solve the mystery of who is Eve? Who is Aya, and why isn't she affected by Eve like all the other people seem to be? And how do we stop Eve? Like we said, it takes place over the course of 6 days from Christmas Eve up until 6 days after that. To help you, you have the help of two people in your party, though it's a single player video game, but you have the help of your police partner, Daniel Dulles, and a scientist and friend, Kunihiko Maeda. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty great rundown. It was spoiler free because I think it's so cool that there are old games out there and that there are a ton of people who have not been spoiled by it yet. And that just seems like such a beautiful existence to have. I would love to play some of these games for the first time again.
And I think we definitely agree that a highlight of this game would be the story. We both agree on that. And I would say, right?
Oh, I think it's a really entertaining story. Yeah.
Or okay, maybe I think it's more of a highlight. But either way, it's a good
No,
story.
I
So so
I,
we
I
so not ruining it is a good thing.
I will say you and I are in the minority when it comes to the story.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. This game, and this is gonna, I know, chap you here, was praised more for its gameplay than its storyline.
We'll get into that.
I,
I have some words.
I know you do.
But
I know you do,
what
babe.
what type of gameplay? What type of game is this? So I mean, it is an RPG, a JRPG.
It
Mostly,
is.
you have the top-down perspective on Aya, is your main character that you control. There are some heavy cinematic and cutscene elements, which I think are very well done,
Mm-hmm.
personally as well. It does have random encounters, so if that irks you or bothers you, know that going in. And then, as far as the combat system, so some places referred to it as a pausable real-time combat system that uses an active time bar or ATB.
Mm-hmm.
So functionally, what that means is you will move around a battle area and until your ATB bar charges. Once it is fully charged, you basically get an action at that point in time. Your action can be to attack with your weapon, which would be a gun or a rocket or grenade launcher. Theoretically, you can use a club. I feel like pretty early on you have enough ammo that I don't know if anybody uses the club after very long. Um, Maybe they do. Or with that action, after the bar charges up, you could use an item, a healing item, and something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can use an ability from your PE Parasite Eve powers list. Um, let's be honest for a moment. When
Oh,
you when you attack, you have a kind of timed bar circle that goes around, and you have to click to attack.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't. So
No, when you there's no, I saw you mention clicked time thing. I have no idea what you're talking about.
so the little there's a circle, and the little thing goes around, and then you hit. You are you aiming? Are you know what I mean? It looks like an aimer almost, but you
It's an aim. There's no timed thing
okay.
with.
But the thing that I'm saying is like I still don't understand how you're aiming because I could aim backwards, I could aim to the side, I could aim straight forward, and it seemed to make almost no difference on if I hit the thing that I was supposed to be aiming at or not.
You mean in the green like three-dimensional dome grid that pops up when you have aim? You know what I'm
When
talking
you're
about?
aiming, and then
Yeah.
there's a radial, there's a circle,
Oh,
and then
radio.
there's
Yeah.
a radial thing that goes around the circle, and then you have to like stop it and select when you're going to fire. Correct? You use that as like an aimer. No?
I don't know what you're talking
Oh gosh.
about.
Did we play a
Did,
totally different game?
did you play a mucked up version of it? Oh no, maybe that's why you hated it so much.
Maybe. No, well now I don't have my phone here. It's
No,
okay.
that's okay.
We will sort this out afterwards.
That's hilarious.
No, so when you attacked somebody, how did you do it? You
Um,
just
I,
attack?
I would I would choose my target, and of course, when you choose your target, the enemies stop moving.
Yes.
And we would call it like a dome-shaped radial, I guess, like
Hmm.
radial thing.
Well, just a dome. You're in a
Dome,
dome.
yeah. And I would choose like if there were two birds and
You
that thing
pick the
that
one
has
you want to aim
claws,
at. Yeah,
you
you
pick the
pick the
one
one
that
to
you want
shoot.
to aim at, as long as it's within that dome.
Yeah, yeah, fine.
And then you would click attack, or you would shoot with their gun. That's it.
There's no like the circle, like it would go around in a circle and then it would.
There's no clicked time component at
I
all.
watched other people play it and they did the same thing.
That's so. Or you know what? If there is, I've never noticed it, and it has not diminished my enjoyment of it. If I've
Oh, so
missed
when
this,
you hit attack, do you just spam the attack button a couple times till it goes through?
no, I just click the X button, like attack. That's it.
I'm so confused.
That's so
Okay, we will
funny.
sort this out
Oh my god, I love this.
afterwards. Are we keeping this in? Do we want people to know that it just feels like we don't even know if we did the same thing when we were attacking, which happens hundreds of times in the game?
I love this so much. No, we're keeping it in. We don't edit
Okay,
stuff out here at TBB. We keep it
okay.
raw.
Well, hold on. We'll try to get people back on. We are talking about the combat system.
Yes,
That was a gigantic aside that will have to be resolved at some point.
I love
But
this.
anyway, so when the ATB bar charges, you have an
Mhm.
action.
Yeah.
You can shoot, you can use
Mhm.
an item, or you can
Yep.
use these abilities. Let's
Yeah.
just okay. So the abilities though are you have a mana like PE energy bar as
Yeah.
well. So kind of like your mana that will
Yeah.
charge up slowly during the battle, and then you can use different abilities. You can heal. You can remove poison from yourself with a detox.
Hmm.
You can use a barrier. You can use a giant attack that you get at the end called Liberate. So basically, you'll get more of these abilities and stronger abilities
Yeah.
as you level up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you level up, you gain increased attack, increased defense, increased other stats. But additionally, every few levels, you will get an additional special magic power,
And a
which is
special.
probably special
Yeah.
magic power.
And they're for the most part. It's not right to say that it's scripted leveling up, because you could certainly be a level or two off than other folks. But for the most part, it's the game expects you and helps you to get to kind of a required level for each boss that comes up. Like you'll rarely. I can't imagine you really being under leveled too much for Parasite Eve.
There's not a whole lot of places to go and just keep grinding and keep leveling. You'd
Not.
have to keep wandering, which I did. There were
Oh.
times that I
Oh.
wandered
Oh.
and
Okay.
tried to find
Oh. You sure did.
things. So
You sure
you
did.
can grind, but that's only if you are off the beaten path.
Oh, you sure were.
But anyway, so that's kind of how the battle system works, which was a very well respected battle system according to DJ. And I think there are elements that are very, and I also think it was likely experimental and groundbreaking in a lot of ways for
I
that time.
I think so. I will say this. I think you and I do, and I think this episode is not a representation of that, but I think you and I do a really good job of you viewing video games through the lens of when they were created, and of me removing nostalgic glasses and trying to understand how a modern person might view an old game. I
I
think
think we
that
try.
I think we try. I don't think we always succeed necessarily to the greatest lengths, but I think we do a pretty dang good job. This game might be the time that you and I both don't leave those camps as much, and that's okay.
Well, we're leaning into me leaving that camp on purpose for my daddy chill moment.
Yeah, I guess
we're,
so.
we're, we're gonna lean into that, but yeah, and then so that's the encounter or the battle system, but also visually, what does it look like? Well, it was apparently built on an upgrade of the Final Fantasy VII engine, and I would say it largely looks like that. To me, it looks like an early jump to 3D.
Hmm.
While the cinematic cutscenes might be rather well done, and nice smooth character models and all that. That looks really nice.
Yeah.
It's pretty jarring once it cuts to the actual gameplay, in my opinion, when people don't have faces and don't have hands.
I would say that it's funny that it's based off of an upgraded Final Fantasy VII engine because the character models look identical to Final Fantasy VIII characters, and this was released within a year of that, I think, as well. So, but you're right, it is based off of a Final Fantasy VII engine. You're absolutely correct. I will say, I think the character models probably look better with a CRT TV.
Mm.
That was truly the intention of some of these older games were meant to be played on a CRT TV, and unless you really reconfigure your emulator, an emulator can't really represent what an old television looked like. And a lot of us who might play this will play it on like an HD, like a brand new television. I mean, you can give me that look, but I'm telling you,
You're telling me if I play this on a CRT TV, they develop faces and hands?
no, I think the faces still look janky. I do think the faces look janky, but I'm happy to show you a graphical difference of like before and after of like bad emulation versus original CRT TV, and I
Okay,
think
I'd be
you would
interested to see the
agree.
difference there.
Yeah, there's a noticeable difference. It awful, but you know, if you have an emulator that truly can
Okay.
put on CRTV, it can look kind of cool, I guess.
We'll
But
we'll
like, I
sort
hear
that
you.
out. We'll sort that out with the visuals. But let's say I close my eyes. What will
Yeah.
I be hearing, DJ?
You'll be hearing some eerie, ambient tunes with some really cool, striking sounds that really brings out the spoopiness of the video game. I think,
Beautiful.
unlike Live Alive, Live Alive, the Kingdom Hearts series, the Xenoblade Chronicles series, Legend of Mana, I think this is a different tonal language. Not tonal language, but like different musical language that Shimamura was leaning into. You
I
know,
agree. Yeah, it
it
definitely is
sounds,
different. And it should be different.
it should be because this really is a cinematic masterpiece isn't exactly correct. That's a little exaggerating, I realize, but it really is a cinematic experience. And I think she composed this more like it was film and less like it was video game.
That makes sense. And also, I mean, just theme wise and mood wise, this ain't Mario and Luigi. This is,
I
this is sci-fi horror.
Yeah, and that's the sign I think of a truly talented composer is she can lean in and elicit feelings of fear and anxiety when playing a horror game, and at the same time you can play a Mario and Luigi game and feel like joyful and playful, and those are very different sounds.
Oh, she's skilled. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh
That's why
yeah.
that's why she keeps getting hired for all these amazing jobs.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But well, that yeah. So I liked it. I thought it fit the bill. It fit the mood.
It's really cool. I'm sad that this came out just a few years before they could really start using voices because I think, especially during the opera scene, it would have been nice to have heard a human voice singing it over the like working with what they had to the computer generated voice instead.
Yeah, I bet so. Maybe for me, it didn't take too much away because she's, the main operatic voices was Eve, who was
Yeah.
supposed to be this evil being, So to not sound human kind of was fitting to me.
Ooh, I like that take. That's a cool
Yeah.
take on it. There's a commercial for Parasite Eve from the late '90s in Japan that they use the same they use the same music, but they use an orchestral background and a human voice for the commercial,
Oh,
and it's pretty cool. The difference is striking. I'll say that. So
well,
take a look
cool.
at that.
Okay. Well, who
Yeah.
who is? I think I know based on our episode about favorite favorite characters mains. Who are your favorite characters in this game
Well, I
of the few
do.
choices?
I know there aren't a ton of choices, and I will say all three of their main characters, Aya, Daniel, and Maeda, I think are all great.
They're all great. They're all
Yeah,
endearing.
they really are. I would love a world where you could have the other two join your party. Because of storyline purposes, it makes sense that Eve is a single player, or sorry, that Aya is single player. I get it, but it would have been cool to have Daniel and Maeda join your party a few times.
I agree. Yeah, especially if you could play with them at the same time, and then you could like one of my critiques is that you can't, you know, one ability doesn't build up the other. If like people could, Daniel does something that then allows your move to hit more, like synergizing and those kind
Oh,
of things.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
I
But
think
it
with
would
this,
make it a different game.
it would. I think with a single player game, it became probably more challenging to have that synergy to between powers, right? Because
Sure.
can you use like barrier and haste at the same time, or does one overtake the other? I can't remember.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know at all, actually. I
I
don't know
don't
that I ever
remember.
did one and then the other.
Yeah, I'm sure you can probably do them, but no, I'm with you on that one for sure.
But also, let's think about this. It being a horror game,
Mm-hmm.
if you had people with you, if you were in a group with somebody else, that automatically makes it less spooky. You're with somebody.
That's
You
true.
you need to be by yourself, and
To
randomly you have to fight spooky things, and
yeah,
randomly they come out and you're surrounded and you're by yourself and you're going around the corner by like that is the feeling.
it
That's the
is.
you have to have that.
It is. Aya is a perfect final girl. She starts
Yeah.
out the movie as the final girl. You get to
Yeah,
follow the
you got to
final
have
girl.
that. You got to
Yeah.
have that. They can't change that. I changed my mind on that. They cannot make it multi-character if they redo it.
Oh, yeah, I know you're totally right. That makes it scarier to just be by yourself. Well, Sam, what about you? Like, I know we joke. There's not a ton of characters to choose from in this, but like, what was your favorite character?
I actually, yeah, I won't say I liked Aya, but I actually think I really like Daniel Dallas the most.
Yeah.
He's just a caricature of the police chief, the police officer, like he's a lot like
He
Donald, Danny Glover from
Lethal
Lethal
Weapon.
Weapon,
Yeah.
and there's even one scene when he's talking to Maeda and he just calls him Mr. Scientist. And they don't even voice act it, but I just heard it in my head and it just it was
I
cracking me up. But anyway, but then also, so he is this caricature, he is stereotypical, but then he does a few things, no spoilers, and he's just always there for Aya, and it's just he actually really kind of melts your heart there in the way he helps out Aya.
he does. He's the hothead police partner that was such a
Mm-hmm.
trope in the 80s and 90s.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But
But
that's
then he
kind of
elevates it. I think
he
he elevates it.
does. It's why they make a perfect duo, just the two of them. I also think because this is a SquareSoft game and it
Uh-huh.
came after Final Fantasy VII, he's so clearly a sci-fi version of Barrett from Final Fantasy VII, the guy with the gun,
Oh,
the guy with the handgun, or the gun for a hand rather.
yeah. Like sci-fi, sci-fi horror noir version.
Oh, totally. Which
Yeah,
makes her the that equivalent to Cloud.
yeah. The visuals make it definitely feel like that, but I see it with the
Hmm.
story and the personalities too.
Yeah. There's if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, there is a whole giant like deep web story of these connections between Final Fantasy VII and Parasite Eve and Final Fantasy VIII, and how each game has components of the other weaved into it with like, oh, we left that on the cutting room floor from Final Fantasy VII. Maybe we could put that into Final Fantasy VIII, or maybe we could put that into
Oh
Parasite
wow.
Eve. Yeah.
Okay. So while you're gushing on these things, we've
Oh
kind of
God.
morphed into the next part of the episode about favorite game aspects. So what
Ooh.
are your kind of other favorite things that we haven't mentioned so far?
Well, I mean, this just the general spookiness. In addition to loving turn-based JRPGs, my other favorite thing in life, when I consume media, are like scary movies or horror movies or scary video games. And this is an awesome marriage between the two. This came out, I think, 2 years after the original Resident Evil, which for a while was like my personality in like fifth or sixth grade was like, I like Resident Evil and I like Silent Hill. Oh, I guess I also like Final Fantasies. So when this came out, I was
Wait, are
like,
you
oh,
playing the new Silent Hill then? Isn't there a new one coming out like
comes out
today?
tomorrow. It comes to my
Tomorrow.
doorstep tomorrow morning.
You have so many games to play like in the next week.
I'm
Anyway.
so overwhelmed. But but yeah, I love the story. I like the sciency aspect of it as well. I vividly remember being in 7th grade when this came out, and we were literally learning like a little section, like a half a day section, I'm pretty sure, on like what is the mitochondria. And I know I was probably like, I am playing a video game where the mitochondria is the bad guy. And I'm sure my science teacher was like, oh, cool, go sit back down.
Oh my god, I love that.
So, but yeah, I like the spookiness of the story. I like the turn-based, though real-time gameplay of it. There's like that little hybrid that it is. It's cool that you can run around the entire field and that you're not just standing on like the right side of the screen and waiting to jump 25 feet to hit with a sword to jump right back.
Yeah, no, I'm down with the positioning, or I wish there's more about positioning actually with the battle system, but I'm down with
I
moving
agree.
around in between. Um,
Is
okay, well, I like all those things. I think mostly what I like those, I do like the story
yeah.
a lot. You know, and I like sci-fi, and I like those kind of things. I don't always love horror, but I do like sci-fi, horror, and I've had a few pieces of media even recently that I've um, read or listened to, like the book Blind Sight. I'll give a quick call out to the book Blind Sight. It's a sci-fi horror kind of combo, and I really dig that combo. So for this, it fit. So it's a creepy hypothetical, and that's kind of what I like too. I like the mind games, or the just working through the thought process of if mitochondria were going to attack or be plotting something for like over 1 billion years, this thing living inside you to try to undermine your species. Like that's just a cool concept.
Yeah.
And then the characters, as we talked about, were engaging and well written and enjoyable and likable and all those things. So really, I thought story and characters drove this game for me largely,
Cool. So
which you don't hear me say often.
you don't. You really don't. So we know that you liked the story. So I think we should let you complain about aspects of the game that you didn't love, and I will respectfully and lovingly chime in if I feel like I have a counter to it.
I love that with our relationship, you can take a game that you've played 6 times, or we can take a game that you've played 6 times that you love so much, and then I can just rail on it and text you all the things that are pissing me off, and you're okay with that. And then I appreciate that. So
Yeah,
that's a good part of our relationship.
it's an honest part of our relate. Well, I don't expect everyone to like a game I like. I think on some level I've got bad taste in games. So I fully expect everyone to not always like the games that I do.
No, I can see the good parts of this game, and we've been talking about them. But maybe it's how used to modern games I am and those kind of
Yeah.
things. But the stuff that stood out to me that made me very frustrated. Let's
Yes,
go through the list.
you go through bullet
Um,
point by bullet point, and at the end of each one I'll chime in.
okay, so movement speed. What the hell? It took me a while. I think I texted you. I said, "Where's the run button? Like, what's the run button?" Like, I swear I looked it up, and I only realized later on that I was always running based on the way I was playing it, and it just didn't seem like it, because you are going so slowly that you cannot get away from any attacks. You cannot get away from any of the baddies. They all move faster than you. You move so slowly during exploration, but really, it stands out when you're fighting things.
I have no counter to that. You are absolutely correct.
Okay,
You are so right when it comes to that.
you move so slowly. What the heck?
I am so used to it because I've played the game a number of times that it doesn't phase me. But you are right. You are not the first or 1,000th person to talk about the movement speed. So
When you later
fair
on, you'll
to you.
get haste as an ability that makes you move quickly. And so after I got that and I started using it, I would basically just spam that, because then I could actually move and dodge things. So anyway, yeah, movement
That's
speed.
fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
Similarly, a dodge mechanic. So when you play most games, you have a dodge roll. You have some sort of additional, oh, you're about to get hit, but you can dodge roll. You can do something that gives you a couple frames of invulnerability or something to help you get past these giant attacks that the bad guys get to do. You get none of that. So in the future, if you did a remake, if they ever did a remake, I would say a dodge mechanic would be amazing.
I would say if they do a remake, some sort of dodge mechanic would be fine to add. I think this is the result of it's an old game. They expect you to memorize the pattern of some of the enemies, and I think that's fine. I think there were a lot of moments where the enemies, especially the bosses, they were like, "Well, 97% of the screen, I'm gonna get you. Hope you get that 3%." I totally hear you on that. I totally hear you on that. So
Yeah.
I think in some ways it was being extra difficult just to be like, I'm a difficult game, when it didn't necessarily have to do that. So
And
I kind
generally,
of,
if games do something like that, they telegraph where the damage, where the attack is going to go. They give you some sort of hint or some sort of, oh, and you have to get to this area to be safe. And generally, the attacks did not telegraph where you might be safe. You just had to hope that you were going to be safe or not a lot of times. Anyway, along the same lines, the battle maps, the areas you were fighting in, the size of them, sometimes they were so small. Not only could you not move very quickly, you had nowhere to go if you could move quickly. There's literally a battle where you're on a stagecoach. It is 4 feet by 4 feet, and then the bad guy is flying around you and dropping bombs on the stagecoach.
you
And it's
just
like,
go
oh,
to a corner, babe. You just go to a
there's not
corner.
the corner is one half step away. It's a half step
All you
away.
do is go to the corner and you don't
the
get
bomb
hit.
the bomb explodes 3/4 of the whole damn thing. If you pick one of the three of the wrong corners, you have to pick the one right corner and just guess, and then you don't get damage. So that's what I think. I felt like I just had to get lucky that I got to the right place rather than my skill allowing me to succeed. A lot of times it was just I got lucky.
I think that you're right and you're wrong. I think that there is some luckiness, some luck, a luck component to this. I think some of it is if we if you and I took the time to like really try to memorize the boss patterns, we could probably find like when Eve flies up and if she goes to the right upper part, then it probably means that you should dodge in the lower left. I'm making this up, obviously.
Maybe. And then, but I think they should have telegraphed that a little
They
bit.
should have it. It makes bosses frustrating.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about that is there's a part where you're rappelling down a cable in a elevator shaft, and I swear to God, I thought, oh, they're gonna do a random battle when I'm holding on to a GD cable and can't move, and I'm gonna have to fight something, and it's just gonna shoot me off of this cable. I swear I thought that was gonna happen. It just felt like the game to me that I would be stuck to a cable, unable to move, and some flying ghost would throw stuff at me. I really thought that was gonna happen.
So sorry.
Anyway, so next thing would be that the Parasite Eve abilities, they don't really stack. They don't synergize. They don't do anything together. You can use heal or you can use something else. But a lot of times in games, what I appreciate is that I can use one ability to decrease the defense on the bad guy, or increase the crit rate on myself, or do something that affects my next move, makes it so that you can do one move to set up another. And I don't think there's any of that in the game, in the battle system.
I
So
don't
that's
think
just a
so. Yeah,
critique.
I think you're right. I think Eve, not Eve. I think Aya is on the defense the entire time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's not really a big offensive leg up that she ever gets, and I
That's
can
true.
understand how that could be frustrating.
It was very frustrating. As I found out partway through, you told me, "Oh, what are you doing? You use medicine. You don't use the Parasite Eve ability, PE ability heal.
You're
You just
misquoting.
use medicine."
No, baby, you're misquoting. I never said you don't use PE for heal. I just said, oh, you also use medicine because, and here's the thing, and I think Parasite Eve does a bad job of explaining this. The more Parasite Eve energy you use in battle, the
The slower.
slower your gauge grows. Unless you know,
switch your armor,
switch your armor, which is
which yeah,
totally
never explains any of those
totally
things.
broken, totally busted. So that's why I'm like, oh, if it's going to reward me with 3 medicine 3s, I'm going to take probably 2 of those, like, so I just always had medicine with me. But again, like, I knew that going into it. I probably was just as frustrated the first time because I was like, because me, I'm an item hoarder for the most part.
But there's only so much inventory space. So you can't really hoard it.
I know, and the bonus points only allow you to increase your inventory so much.
I don't think I used them for inventory ever. Maybe I should have done that.
Oh, yeah, I use them to increase my inventory every once in a while.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I used the guide begrudgingly, but actually partway through it wasn't begrudgingly. It was like, I need this thing. For
Really?
me, I needed it to know where to go. And I think one of the more frustrating things, this is more of a all the games of this PS1 era, I feel like, um, I would know I got to open this drawer. It says it right here. I'd read the darn guide 3 times because then I would start to try to interact with that drawer and I would not know how to open it. I'd go on different sides of it. I'd go in front of it. I'd go to the left. I'd go to the right. I'd read the guide again. I'd say, oh, yep, this drawer right here. This is the right one. I'd try to open it again. That's where the key card is. That's where my key is to get to the next room. and so that I feel like that's just a frustration of older games.
No,
That
you're right on this one, especially the pre-rendered backgrounds
yes,
were were so beautiful for the time that they were created, but it also made it really challenging to know that exact angle you needed to be in to open that drawer that looked like it was just painted into the background and like it wasn't actually part of something that you could use. Totally
exactly.
hear you.
Nowadays, I feel like they have items have a little bit of a gleam to them or have something to tell you this is an item you can interact with. This is a
Yeah.
drawer you can interact. Like that is such a useful modern thing
I,
that does not exist in these games.
and I think they did it so you felt really um so it didn't take you out of feeling part of the environment, because like sometimes you could look at in an old video game when they would bring it out, it would be like all of these drawers that you can't open are one shade of brown, but the drawer that you can open is a darker shade of brown. And I
Oh, you
that
think they are a little bit different?
I think that no, like in other games, not in this
Oh,
one.
okay.
So I think that was a way that they kept you immersed into the environment. Again, I think you're supposed to feel helpless in this game
Okay.
to a degree, but I'm with you on the frustration when it comes to that 1,000%. There are parts. There's a secret wall in the opera studio that it's a like hit or miss if I decide to actually open it because I have to be in the right angle. And after a while, I'm like, I'm just gonna go on because I clearly don't know how to open this hidden wall right here or this hidden cabinet drawer. So yeah, I agree with you. Yep, that's legit. Whatever.
Okay. This is more probably on me than anything else, but it's funny to know that I swear I wasted 1 to 2 hours. I was texting you and I was doing this. I thought I didn't have all the fuses. There's a part where you need fuses to turn the power back on. And I had gone to the power box or whatever, and I was like, I guess I don't have the last fuse. So then I spent literally another 1 to 2 hours walking around looking for the last fuse, only to realize that I had it all along. And you have to turn the power off in order to put the fuse back in. And it doesn't give you the option to use your fuse or tell you that you have the fuse unless the power is off. So that was a frustrating aspect of this game for me, but also probably my fault.
I think that you are silly.
Yeah, that one was just dumb. Okay, so I'll go quickly through these.
No, it's fine.
The hit boxes. Oh my gosh. Okay, a darn bat or something could hit me, and then I go, okay, attack, and it would say, nope, it's too far away from you. I was like, that bat just hit me. It is within a foot of me. I know it just hit me in the head. That bat is so close to me. There is no way that bat, I'm standing right underneath it. I know I'm underneath this bat. And then it would say, nope, you're too far away. You can't shoot it. I was like, no, I know I am. And then I would move around and try to chase this thing. And I'd be like, okay, I swear I'm under it now. I know I'm under this bat now. And then I would hit attack and it would say, nope, it's across the map. I was like, I see it. It's on top of my head. and then it would be like, nope, you can't shoot it.
Are 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 you sure? Are you sure that those bats didn't blind you? Because when they blind you, they take away all of your range.
Oh, how did you know if you're blinded?
Because yeah, you were totally blinded now. That's exactly what was happening with the bats because they would hit you with what looked like sonar. Yeah.
No, no, no. It wouldn't even be the sonar ones. It would just be ones that hit you, just like touch you.
Oh, so the ones that blind you, you know you're blinded because it has
It's the
that.
sonar things that is
I
okay.
believe you're blinded,
Oh, it
and
was
then
more than just the sonar ones. I very
oh,
well could have
okay.
been blinded because I didn't even know that was a condition I could have been afflicted with
Oh yes, it
until
is.
right
Yeah,
now.
you can tell because a little icon appears that has sunglasses, and I'm always like, ooh, I'm cool. Nope, I'm blinded.
No, I definitely could have been blinded in this game and not known it, but I don't think that was my issue. I
That's
think
fair.
it was the hitboxes and the range and stuff. Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say is that along the lines of like, how do you dodge and how do you get away from things? What I found out later on, and spoiler, I guess, for some people, or this is a tip more than anything, literally the thing to do is almost every boss, the secret is stand right next to them. Like the place that their attack can't hit you, just right next to them. They don't realize it. Just run right up next to them. They won't hit you. They're going to hit 98% of the rest of the map, but right next to them, they won't touch you. So like that is the cheese way to get past every boss. The only place to dodge is right next to the boss.
Right
And
next to them.
it's the same cheese on every boss, right?
I only really utilized slash figured that out on the crab boss, which is an optional boss anyway. You know the crab boss in the warehouse?
Oh yeah, I beat it.
I'm doing crab hands right now, so you know.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I stuck to the side and I was like, oh, it's not hitting me. It thinks I'm there and it's shooting those bubbles out because that's what a crab does, I guess. So yeah, no, you're right. Again, like your for the most part, your complaints I think are valid. I think some of them are a little bit like, well, why doesn't it have quality of life? I'm there. I hear you, man. It doesn't have quality of life, and I think you should re-evaluate your expectations when a game is old and doesn't have quality of life aspects. However, I think you can still want those for a remake or a remaster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They need to Square needs to listen to me,
They do, yeah,
Square Enix, and
exclusively to you.
if they remake this, do all of my points, fix all of my points.
See, we
Okay,
were
well
that was so friendly. That was not as contentious as I thought
well,
we thought
good,
it might
good, because I
be.
don't want to completely poop on it. I just want to make sure I have my thoughts known.
I don't even think you
Um,
pooped on it. I think that the complaints you have are largely the complaints that other folks who review games also have. I think that you are normal.
Well, good. Okay. All right. Well, when you play I think it's funny now reading this. When you do a second playthrough of this game, DJ, when you do a seventh playthrough, not a second, a seventh playthrough of this game, what would you do next?
I've never done the Chrysler building, which is the bonus dungeon, which is like an X
100
amount. No,
floors?
it's a lot of floors. I don't know. Apparently, you have to do that to fight like true Eve to get to the quote unquote true ending. And I don't feel. I've also never played Parasite Eve 2, so I don't feel like I need to. I like the ending that I get, the normal ending that we all get. And I think that I like that closing the chapter, closing the book, if you will, on that story. So I don't feel like I've lost anything by doing a bonus dungeon because you know I hate a bonus dungeon. I hate post game content. I'm so sorry. I'm a terrible gamer for saying that.
It's okay. If I like the game and I like the system, I love the post game content. I do not see myself doing the Chrysler building.
Shocking.
Shocker. If I did it again, I think it would be a lot less frustrating because I think I would know the workarounds. I think I
Mm-hmm.
would understand the systems that were never explained to me. I think I
Mm-hmm.
would understand how to utilize the healing in the form of medicine rather than PE. I do a lot of things different. I do a lot of things different. But anyway, yeah. So other tips you might give somebody if they're starting this game for the first time or the eighth time or the seventh time, what would
um,
you do, DJ?
So I remember beating this game in 8th grade with no guide, which is crazy, I realize. And I didn't do it as like, "Oh, I'm not going to use a guide. I just didn't have the internet back then because I am a child from the 80s and my parents didn't believe in the internet in the 90s. So I didn't have a guide. So I had to, raw dog my way through this game. There you
I'm
go.
impressed.
Thank you so much. Thank you, especially because you always call me out for using a guide lovingly. That being said, I would say, yeah, like use a guide if you want. Don't stress about level grinding for this particular RPG. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, use a guide if you want. I don't think you need one necessarily, but if you're Sam, I guess you do.
I do. Yeah. This is one of the only times I'm going to say get yourself a guide personally. That's what I would say because you don't want to hit your head against the wall trying to find a key card in a room. Like just read the guide, find the card, move on.
That's
That's
fair.
what I say. Read about kind of the weapon upgrade system, and I think that isn't explained at all.
Oh yeah.
Um, and manage your inventory better than I did, and utilize the medicine instead of using your Parasite Eve energy for
Girl,
heals.
when you told me, when you were like, I shouldn't have to use the items. That makes there's something wrong with the game when I have to use items. That's the one time that I wanted to choke you through the phone. I was like, you are trying to
No,
outsystem the system that's given to you.
I feel like if there's a magic system with healing function, it's weird to me to utilize items instead of that to heal. Yes, that part I stand by. Anyway,
Boo.
let us know out there, listeners, if you boo me on this and you agree with DJ, or if you agree with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then also use the haste so you can actually move quickly. I give that tip, and I would say cheese those bosses. Just stand right next to them when they're using their crazy abilities that you can't dodge. Just stand right next to them and laugh.
Yum yum
That's
yum
what you do.
cheese.
So, why did you play this all the way through 6 times, DJ? What do you think? Why?
I think it's a charming little spooky game. It's a fast time. You can get through it in a weekend if you want. And neither of us did because we're busy adults. But it's a charming little game. It is a little time capsule of what video games looked like in the late 90s. And it's nostalgic for me. I will probably in 5 or 6 years play it again.
I'm sure you will. Well, I got through it with pissed off determination. I will say that I very commonly feel the compulsion to finish a game when I have started it. I feel the sunk cost of my time into the game and I want to complete it. And so I pushed through.
And we
However,
thank you for that.
however, also the story. I did think it was a cool story. I wanted to see how it finished, and I liked the characters, so I wanted to see if they succeeded. But getting through the mechanics was a little bit of a struggle bus for myself.
It's a cool story. You should. I watched the movie, which you can watch on YouTube. Now
Oh, cool.
the entire movie has been uploaded to YouTube with English subtitles. I watched it back in like 8th or 9th grade. I think I like went to a friend's house and I was like, I'm gonna go on eBay and buy the movie on DVD. So I watched it one Christmas and I was like, I don't understand what's happening here because it was only in Japanese, and believe it or not, I don't speak
Wait,
Japanese.
no subtitles?
There were no subtitles on the version
You
that I
watched the
got.
whole thing?
I did because I was like, well, let's see what's happening here. And I was like, I don't really know what's going on, but I see that there's this wicked scene where this like bird flies down and attacks a slug, burned into my memory. Like it is tragic. So, and if anybody has seen, to the two other people out there who have seen the film, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It is horrifying. I will send it to you so you can see it.
Yeah, I want to see that. That sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so excited, Sam, for this medical moment because this is a game all about science. So,
It is.
like, give it
It
to
has
us,
some
man.
so it has some cool science concepts. So even though none of this is really medical and most of this is more cellular biology for the most part, I will still give a disclaimer. Turn-based besties is solely for fun and educational purposes. Anything discussed on the show is not meant to diagnose or treat medical conditions. This information is not a substitute for professional medical advice. You should always ask your medical provider about potential health concerns. We are a video game podcast. We are not a medical podcast. So anyway, I say that to talk about, like I said, cellular biology stuff. But anyway, the
Yeah.
mitochondria. So what everybody almost jokingly refers to it as nowadays, even though it's true, is the powerhouse of the cell. And apparently that came from a 1957 Scientific American article. So it's been around for a long time that people called the mitochondria the powerhouse of the cell. They are an organelle, which is an organ for the cell. So like our bodies have organs, our cells have organelles, tiny little pieces that do different things. Historically, the kind of like what we think about where it came from is the thought is that it was probably a bacteria or a different cell that was eaten or phagocytosed by a single-celled organism,
What'd you
and then they
say?
kind of phagocytosed.
It's rude.
Eaten, we'll go with eaten, by the single cell organism, and then they kind of live together and they function together, and the bacteria developed into having a function which would be making energy for the cell, and then they started replicating together and all those things. And one of the reasons they think this is because they have different DNA than the rest of the cell. So most of our cells, most of the DNA is within the nucleus, or kind of the brain organelle of the cell that has all the DNA and information that encodes what you, the proteins and how you replicate, everything about the cell. But mitochondria have their own. So it's like, wow, maybe it was a wholly different organism that just got engulfed or eaten, phagocytosed.
Rude.
And they anyway, but they exist, and it crosses between a lot of different species. I mean, this happened so long ago in the evolutionary tree that animal cells, plant cells, and fungi all have mitochondria, which is cool.
Cool.
They mentioned in the uh, game that the mutation rate is faster than the mutation rate in the nucleus, and that's true. It's a faster mutation rate, largely probably because of the oxidative stress, or kind of like the functions of the mitochondria lead to more mutations. It just
Hmm.
kind of happens that way because of what they're doing metabolically there. Um, One other point to mention is there's a big plot point about. So sorry if this is light spoilers about sperm, and I don't think I've played a different game that's mentioned sperm once. And this game mentions sperm a lot. So if that makes you more or less excited for this game, just know that going in. But anyway, it so it talks about they're trying to make the ultimate being and utilize sperm, but you don't. But they say, oh, we have to genetically engineer the sperm to not have mitochondrial DNA. Well, already, kind of by definition, sperm don't. The mitochondrial DNA kind of degrade for the most part. So there's almost no mitochondrial DNA in the sperm. That's why we inherit almost all of our mitochondrial DNA from our mothers. That's why you can trace lineages back through motherhood, and you've got this concept of this concept of mitochondrial Eve, which is maybe where Parasite Eve comes from, right?
Yeah.
Probably is. Where you can trace back maternal genetic origins by the mitochondrial DNA, because it shouldn't be coming from the male components of each generation, which is interesting. So that's a little bit of I would say, an incorrect part of the plot. So let's see. Other things that I thought are kind of interesting is they talk about that it's been mutating and all these things, but I question that situation, because normally when things mutate, you get it can evolve in a good way, or that gives you more fitness and makes you more likely to survive, or you don't. So
Yeah.
those evolutionary pressures, the natural selection of whether you survive or not, is would then mean if you survive, then that mutation lives on. If you don't, then it doesn't live on. It's weird for me to think about, but it's also kind of intriguing to think about, okay, if something's mutating, but it's within a cell and it's inside a cell, what are the pressures? It's not, getting eaten by a wolf, because it's within a cell. So what are the pressures driving the mutations to exist or not exist, generation to generation? So kind of fascinating, but would it ever lead to consciousness within the organelles? That's a pretty big leap, but it's still kind of cool to think about. I don't think that would ever happen, but it's still kind
Sure.
of cool. And just the thought that they were in our cells for like what it would be like over 1 billion years, just laying dormant, evolving, and waiting on their time to just take control is a cool concept, even though I think it's very, very far-fetched. um the other thing I would talk about is maybe the last thing I'll mention here is that they utilize the activating the mitochondria because they create energy, and then that means they create heat, and then that makes people burn. So I think it's cool visually, but I think I was reading some things that said there's just no way you could ever generate that much energy to burn a human, which is 60% water. That makes
Sure.
sense. Again, doesn't really matter, but I think it's so close to an actual cell function that if this person has a PhD in pharmacology, or at least knows a lot about biology, they were so close to something that would be scientifically accurate. It's that the mitochondria is intimately involved in programmed cell death or apoptosis, where the cell dies. It's part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
So if you activate them all the cells could die and start like melt. So a melting makes sense, and some people do that in the book, in the game. But I think the burning doesn't make sense. They should have gone with like you activate all of them, and they all just program cell death, all their cells at once, and then they just melt. Like that would make more sense
Then the
based on the
burning.
function of mitochondria. But anyway, does that make
So
sense? Like,
no, it does. So what you're saying is that, well, actually, would spontaneous human combustion. Well, I guess that's kind of what they're leaning into here, which is also like not a provable thing that's happened, right?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, right. So I guess
I don't
that's
think.
the sci-fi part of it all.
Yeah, and it looks cooler for something just to catch on fire when she makes them catch on fire. But I
Then like
think it makes more
melting into
sense
goop.
to be like, if you're going to activate the mitochondria, then you would activate the programmed cell death pathways that it actually does in the body, and just make all their cells die at once, and then they would just kind of melt away, which could be cool in its own right.
Yeah, that could be kind of cool. Yeah, but the opera scene is very cool because of
It
everyone
is
catching on
the whole
fire.
idea that everybody just spontaneously combusts. It's striking.
which
So
which was like totally a thing in the 90s, in addition to quicksand, was like, oh, I'm afraid I might spontaneously combust.
spontaneously combust. Oh, sorry. The last thing I'd bring up is another part they bring up is that she's on. Sorry, small spoiler. Is it okay?
Oh
Is
yeah.
that they bring up that she's on immunosuppressants because she gets a kidney transplant, and that's what allows the kidney cell mitochondria, which are mutated, to proliferate. So it's
Hmm.
interesting to think about how there's something about our own immune systems that's destroying them or stopping the mitochondria from proliferating, even though the mitochondria have been part of our cells for, like we said, hundreds of millions, billions of years. So what they wouldn't be able to tell that it's not part of the self. It wouldn't be able
Right.
to tell that it's wrong. It wouldn't be able to tell, for the most part. You wouldn't be able to.
So maybe in game, spoiler alert, in game, maybe that's why she turned bad, because she was on immunosuppressants. Even though Aya also got a cornea
Cornea
transplant,
transplant. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
she was not on immunosuppressants. Maybe that's why she became like the good version of it.
Yeah, yeah. It must be like you can tell your immune cells can tell something's wrong with the cell, that the mitochondria are acting haywire, and then
Yeah,
just off some. Yeah, I mean that makes some sense. Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
it's a
I don't
cool
know.
thought. It's a cool thought. And I mean definitely this person was a PhD pharmacologist, so they were thinking that way, and so there is a way that makes sense in some way, some sense.
It's
But okay,
fun.
overall though, I like it. It makes me think about the whether it's plausible, the thought of oh my gosh, if our mitochondria have always been laying dormant and they're waiting to just turn on us. These are all cool thoughts. Whether or not I think they would actually happen is something different, but it's pretty interesting and thought provoking and fun to consider.
Are you mad that you played the game, or are you at least neutral that you played the game?
I'm not mad. No, if I couldn't beat it, I'd be mad. Remember,
Fair.
there was a time that I was texting you and I was messaging that I thought I might not. That was mostly out of frustration. I think I was always going to beat it. But the fact that I have beaten it, I am past that frustration, and I am on to the being happy about it, appreciative for the parts that I liked, despite the frustrations. And overall, yeah, happy that I played.
Fair. Great. So what I heard is I was right. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Fine. Anyway, so on that note, though, what are
Anyway,
we playing next?
yeah, Sam.
What are you playing?
Well, what are you playing now? And then I can say what we're playing on the pod next.
Well, I honestly, I just finished the game, so I don't have a game I am playing at the moment, but I am going because I beat Costume Quest 2. So the next one I'll play in the next week, if I have any time, actually, is one that I've brought up before and didn't have time to get into, but the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC. I will jump into that
Nice.
until the Metaphor Refantasio comes out,
So
which is so
exciting.
close. Or I could just jump into the demo of that and then it rolls over, right? It rolls over into the
Yeah, it
carries
totally
over.
rolls
So maybe I'll
over.
just do that because that
I
is the one that I'm super excited about.
I'm so excited. The reviews all just dropped for Metaphor today, and it has a 94 on Metacritic, which is not unheard. I mean, it's kind of unheard of, actually.
Super high.
Very, very high. So
And a
I
37 out of 40
on
Famitsu.
yeah, 9 9 10 9. Really great scores. I'm glad we're essentially ending this season with Metaphor Fantasio. We're tacking on a small little 5 hour game in December that's Christmas themed, but the next big game that we're going to review is Metaphor Fantasio. However, we are going to have a special Halloween episode of the cute little RPG Costume Quest. So that will be our next episode out later this month. And I played both Parasite Eve and Costume Quest and finished them both in September. So I had a little extra time. You have children, friend.
I
You have
finished them.
children.
I finished them both.
You did. You finished Costume Quest way faster than I finished it. I was just
I finished
taking
it in
my
like two
sweet
or three
time.
days.
Yeah, I
Maybe
took a
three.
week.
Probably three.
I probably took a week just to like casually play it. But so yeah, in the past couple of weeks, in addition to Parasite Eve and Costume Quest, I played through and beat Shadows of Adam. It's a cute game, turn-based SNES style. I think it was made in 2017. Fun game. I'm finishing up Bloomtown.
You're finishing it?
It's not very long.
Oh, I thought it was like a 30 or 40 hour thing.
It's not that. I think I've clocked 25 hours into it.
Okay.
I'm in the last dungeon. It's a cool spooky game to rev up for the spooky games that I'm playing. I'm also finishing up the remaster of Until Dawn, which I'll probably finish tonight, and then I'm gonna try to jump into the Silent Hill 2 remake tomorrow. And what I'll probably do is finish Silent Hill 2 and then jump into Metaphor. So I'm gonna be probably a week behind you in Metaphor.
But heck, you're killing it. You're playing so many things. You'll catch up in Metaphor. I know
I'll
that.
catch up. Yeah, for the first time in my life, I don't have like an opera every 3 weeks, and I don't have one for a while, so I'm just enjoying this downtime of playing video games. Speaking of people enjoying downtime, you can find us at Turn Based Besties on Instagram, both in your downtime, in your free time. If you want, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Go to our socials and let us know if your mitochondria has taken over your body, or if you love Parasite Eve as much as I do, or if you have as many complaints about it as Sam does.
Probably not.
Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. And you can email us comments or questions at turnbasedbesties@gmail.com. Like I said, check out our next episode dropping close to Halloween, talking about the adorable game Costume Quest. Big thank you to everyone who has followed us on social media. We are so close to 100 followers, which sounds like small fries, but gosh darn it, we're going to make it by the end of the year. So tell your friends. Tell your friends about these cool new adventures that we go on here at Turn Based Besties.
Because, like we say, when everything in the world points right, maybe go left and see what you find. I'm Sam.
And I'm DJ, and this has been another fun episode of Turn Based Besties. Bye!
Bye.